In the meantime, let's hear it for Simon and his poetry.
All right. So I wrote some words. I'm going to read until I get kicked out. So, is everybody aware of Sleeping Giant State Park?
Yeah.
Yes.
So, is anybody aware there was a hurricane there in 2018?
Yes.
So I wrote this poem a month before that hurricane. All right. The bench that's mentioned in this poem, it got taken out by the hurricane. So if you know the Tower Trail, you know there used to be a bench about halfway up. That bench got destroyed in the hurricane. So this poem is about that bench. Well, that bench has a role in this poem. All right. So this poem is called "The Difference Between Oceans and Mountains." A mile up the mountain, late this afternoon, temperature rapidly dropping into the 20s, Eli spotted a bench along the side of the trail with a view to the north. We sat for a few moments, discussing our progress and the challenges of hopping rocks at speed, while bundled for warmth. Then Eli commented on how pretty the water was off in the distance. "Where do you see water?" I asked, seeing nothing but New England hills in the horizon. He pointed out to the distance at what I must assume were the shadows of those hills being stretched long by the sun's steady drip towards nightfall. "The ocean, Papa," Eli responded. "It looks so dark."
What?
That was the first one. All right, so the second one I wrote last week, actually, a week ago today. It's called Free Speech. I wrote this at the written word, but I didn't get to read it, and Joyce said I should read it. So I'm reading that poem now.
I'm in trouble.
It's called Free Speech. If you were there, you remember that was the theme of our write. The speech isn't free when you are trapped in words pouring out of the entrapment. Chains and handcuffs don't fit around words when they are spoken. Waves in motion. Words are not trapped until they are written down, embedded, engraved, etched on paper, on parchment, on rocks. There was once an eraser, then it grew into whiteout. Now we have backspace and delete, keys on our keyboard, each named with a word, unspoken labels, not free like speech.
Woo! Woo!
All right, moving right along. This poem I found on my computer like last week when I was planning to read these poems. The date when I typed it was 2013, but I know it's older than that, so I'm going to date this one to 1998. So this poem I wrote in 1998. It's called Autumn Rain. November dies slowly. Cold wind and crisp leaves cover the browning grass. Naked tree skeletons branch out above, casting shadows, stretch and scratch at the sky. Honesty contradicts itself. What else can it do? I am cold. My heart doesn't beat fast enough to warm all the way to my feet and my fingers. Trees eat themselves. They lose their leaves, allowing them to fall down, to deteriorate into the ground, to nourish the tree roots, to feed new leaves next year. We bury our dead. The woods, which surround my house, smell of this rich compost, dying, decaying, feeding, all this brought on by life, the cold and tiny bacteria hovering through fallen leaves, dead before they hit the ground. I wrote that in a poetry class. The teacher of the class thought that poem was horrible. I kind of liked it.
Oh my God, that was good. Loved it.
I have my poems out of order, but I have them numbered, so I'm trying to keep up with myself. All right, so this one is from a week ago, I think. It says June 2024 on it, so it was probably a week ago. It's called Similarities. Words are like steps. They move you forward or move you... Nope. I'm going to start again. This poem is called Similarities. Words are like steps. They move you forward or up if they stack smoothly, one on the last. Words are everywhere. Stairs are there too, mostly where you look. I knew a few of these. The sunlight hurts my eyes more than anything else. It is bad that I can't even feel. I know all of them, but I didn't decide until it was in the moment. It won't break. It grows less important step by step. We might decrease constantly.
Oh my goodness.
And this one is a little bit older. So me and a group of friends, we were writing poems together. It was 2017, so this poem is from 2017. I found the date for it as January of 2017. So me and one of my friends, we were at a bar in New Haven, and we just wrote down a bunch of titles to poems that didn't exist yet. And then with a couple of other friends, we each took the poems and we wrote them, and we all wrote poems with the same titles. So this is my poem from one of those titles. It's called Car You Love But Don't Trust. Mine, 81 Rabbit, pale blue, Sally. Mint condition, at least cosmetically, was a Sunday driver who only clocked 62,000 in 17 years. A mere pittance, 70 miles a week, a slow, sad existence for any machine. In November, we drove to Gettysburg, spontaneous trip, a tent and a girl. Not even an acquaintance, a classmate. Curiosity captured by the map. Colored lines, placed names on folded paper. Drew us together inside my rabbit. Conversation floated from favorite drinks to Greek literature and other filler. A 6-hour adventure across 4 states. Pre-GPS meandering nonsense. A short pit stop at the Latin Love Lounge in Perth Amboy gave us a redirect. Multiple exchanges across Pennsylvania. The campground loop at the edge of darkness. Sally was heroic. We lay, strangers, in the tight quarters of a 2-man tent in late fall. Convenience of body heat dissolved boundaries, uniting more tightly in 20 minutes than the entire drive. Words didn't bond people quite like cold air will. In the morning, words came more easily because we had our hunger to discuss. Broke camp early, tent and bags restowed, in the short drive to Gettysburg proper. The needle on the fuel gauge had dipped low in the course of our late night meanders. No stations open out here at that hour. So I had pressed on with light foot and luck. But now, in the light of day, it appears. The bottom has fallen out of the tank, needle scraping the bottom of the E. Fingers crossed, fumes would have been enough, but it wasn't. Salad game sputtering. Less than 100 yards of road to go, and the sputtering now spurts and lurches. Foot hard down, fuel pump whining, and reached last drops. Chugging. I whispered pleadings with Sally as we coast the last 10 feet to the pump. Crisis averted. I fueled Sally up, back in the saddle. She refused to start. The stress had been too much. I pushed too hard. The fuel pump had burned out from running dry. We would be forced to spend the next 2 days strangers in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. That was the car I loved. Can we read one more?
One more.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this poem I wrote, again, this month, so maybe a couple weeks ago. I read this. One person in this room follows me on Facebook, so I read this as I was going up the stairs at East Rock. They're called the Giant Steps. So I read this poem on a video up the steps at East Rock Park. It's called Falling Up. And I'm still on my trajectory. Though I can feel the fade with each step, with each footfall, I slow more than before, having learned my lesson over years of pushing myself too hard. When the climb becomes too much, there is always the way down, to fall, to decrease, making it less. We cannot rise forever, even though it is the dream, ostensibly. It is always the way, falling. We fall up and we fall down, over and over and over. The height doesn't matter so much when you're at the bottom, but it matters when you try to get to the top. Thank you.